In ancient African societies, the people assembled around the end of the year to give thanks for a healthy and prosperous life, the well-being of the family and the community, to honor the accomplishments of the community and to recommit themselves to the values of the community.
In America today, Kwanzaa is a special time to celebrate the joy of family and community, honor our humanity, and to take inventory of what we have accomplished in the last year.
The service cannot proceed without the permission of the elders. We invite the elders of our community to stand as you are able. Do we have your permission to begin?
do have my permission to begin.
And we invite David Morris forward to represent the elders in our community.
Hello, Elder.
We pour water, a necessary life-giving and sustaining substance, into rich, potent soil. Just as water nourishes and supports growth in the soil, so too do our ancestors support and nurture us.
The ceremony acknowledges the forebears who have paved the way. In our community, we honor our co-founders, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. We also honor our founding ministers of this spiritual community, Reverend Renee Perret and his wife Marie, Reverend Russell Highland, who has come since, and Reverend Richard Levy.
There are 7 principles recognized in the celebration of Kwanzaa. They are reflected in each of the candles in the menorah. The colors of the candles have symbolic meaning. The black represents African people. The red stands for effort and work. And the green candles are symbolic of future prosperity in nature. As each candle is lit, we recommit ourselves to practicing these guiding principles of family and community. Umoja, unity.
Kujichagulia, self-determination.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility.
Ujamaa, cooperative economics.
Nia, purpose.
Kuumba, creativity. And Imani, faith. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, David. Today is the second day of Kwanzaa, and so we're going to look at Kujichagulia, or self-determination, which is defined by defining ourselves, to name ourselves, to speak for ourselves, and to create for ourselves. And what this is really saying is we're not defined or told what to do by people outside of us. When we're looking for our dreams, when we're looking for our truth, we tune in. We go within to commune with ourselves, to find that guidance, to find that passion, to find that fire. So we don't go without. We don't listen to what other people think we should be. We don't listen to what our moms or our dads think we should be. We don't listen to what society thinks we ought to be. We don't listen to what our peers think we ought to be. We don't listen to our spouses and to what they think we ought to be. We don't even listen to our children and say, I'm not going to be what you want me to be. I'm going to be what I want to be. That's what self-determination is all about. It's finding that inner self, that inner guidance, that inner knowing about who and what we are. Sometimes people feel it like an energy that comes up from the ground and fills our feet and creates that steel rod of assuredness inside us. In a former life of mine, when I was affiliated with Unity Church of Hawaii, one of my jobs was to manage the internship program that we had for young ministers and licensed Unity teachers, people who were on the path to getting credentialed. And I would interview them for the paid internships that we offered. And one of the pieces of information that I wanted to get really clear about and be really sure about is what their calling was. Like, what is it that calls you to serve? What is it that calls you to ministry? And what I was looking for was something that reflected my own call. I feel called to coalesce spiritual ideas and communicate them in a way that inspires people to positive action. Unity has a powerful message of peace and love and truth. This is a message that the world would be a better place in, and it already is a better place in because we are a part of the Unity community. So my call is to teach and to preach. And that's what I was looking for. And one time I was interviewing this candidate, and the candidate said, well, I want to be a minister because so-and-so said I should. And I was like, ay, caramba. Ay, caramba. One of the things I most admire about my brother is that he has a tremendous capacity for self-determination. My mother rode him hard. She wanted him to be a politician. She wanted him to get elected to the state house. She just knew she had all the network and the connection, and he had the charisma, and she rode him really hard. But my brother did not want to be a politician. So then she changed her tack, and she rode him really hard. She wanted him to be a teacher. She wanted him to be a teacher because then he could have his summers to play and do all the things he loved to do. She wanted him to be a teacher. But my brother had this tremendous capacity for self-determination. He did not want to be a teacher. And to this day, he is not a politician and he is not a teacher. He defined himself. He reached inside himself and said, this is my dream, and this is how I'm going to live my dream, and this is how I'm going to commit to my dream. It's a question. What is your dream? How are you feeling it inside? How is it emerging as the beautiful and beloved expression of God that you are? How is it emerging as the spiritual being having a human experience that you are? How is it emerging in you in and through the power and the purpose of your potential? How is that emerging in you? There's a proverb, an African proverb that says, if you borrow a man's legs, you will go where he directs you. So if you borrow somebody else's dream, you're going to be on their path. And ultimately, you will lose your own identity. Ultimately, you'll lose your own sense of purpose. Ultimately, you'll forget that you're a beloved expression of God. Ultimately, you'll forget that you're a spiritual being. And you won't be happy. So here are some questions you can ask yourself to redirect. And if you answer yes to these questions, right on. More power to you. I invite you to make your dream bigger. I invite you to expand your thinking. But if you answer no, well, then we'll get to if you answer no. Am I all that I can be? Am I living up to my full potential? Am I being the best that I can be? Am I doing the best that I can? Am I getting the best life that I deserve? Am I living in the kingdom of heaven? Jesus says, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom of heaven. Are you living in the kingdom of heaven? And if your answer is yes, ho, 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 make it bigger. I dig dog, double dare you. Make it bigger. And if your answer is no, well, aren't you glad you're here on Kwanzaa, where self-determination lines up so well with unity practice. Unity has a 3-step process that helps us get on our game. Number 1, make a list of what you want. Now, some people might call this a bucket list. On my bucket list is to walk the last 100 miles of the Camino de Santiago. On my bucket list is to go to France and take a gourmet cooking class. On my bucket list is to have Hawaiian hardwood furniture in every room of my house. I don't know what's on your list, but you know what's on your list. And if you don't know what's on your list, you can spend some time in meditation and allow these things to bubble up. Or get on the internet and look at other people's bucket lists and say, oh, that's a good idea. That resonates with me. Make your list is step 1. Step 2 is visualize yourself engaging in those situations. Visualize yourself engaging in the activities that are on your list. I can visualize myself walking into the cathedral. I can visualize myself stepping into that sacred and holy place. I can smell the residue, that dank residue of all that incense, and I can feel the cold stone beneath my feet. I can visualize myself relishing that gourmet French meal. I can visualize it, step 2. Step 3 is to take action. To take action, one step. Doesn't even have to be a big step, but to take action is essential in order for the dream to come to fruition, in order for our self-determination to emerge. And really, number 3 is where the self-determination rubber hits the road. Because we go out, we think we're doing it, and the situations that we manifest don't look exactly like our list. And then we think we failed. Wayne Dyer has the most amazing definition of failure. He says, failure does not exist at all. Failure is simply someone else's opinion of how a certain act should have been completed. Once you believe that, then failing becomes impossible. It's just what somebody else, and sometimes we're our own somebody else, it's what somebody else thinks it should have turned out as. Beethoven was this child prodigy, and they put a violin in his hand, and he started playing the violin. But it came to a point when he was still really little, his teacher said, he's not teachable anymore. There's no way his technique can improve. You might as well just send him to a trade, give him a different job. But Beethoven loved the violin. So he went home and he started designing his own exercises. He started composing little ditties and pieces that actually helped him improve his own technique. And he found that he loved writing and composing so much that, he became one of the greatest classical composers of music that ever lived. Da-da-da-da. 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 I don't think any of you really know him or knew him, but you know of him, and you think, well, he was Beethoven. He was Beethoven. But there are people in our lives, there are people in our neighborhoods, there are people in our country who are just ordinary people, who have dreams, who have visions, and are willing to take action. There was a young woman who, I'm not sure how ordinary she was because she was the 20th child out of 22. I've never known a family that prolific, but she was just an ordinary kid growing up in Clarksville, Tennessee. By the time she was 4, she had had double pneumonia, she had had scarlet fever, and she contracted polio, and her left leg started to atrophy. Now her parents, her mom was a maid and her dad was a train porter, and they could afford to take her to the hospital once a month, and the doctors there said she'll never walk. But you can help the leg by massaging it. And so her entire family and the neighborhood would take turns massaging her leg so that it would not atrophy, so that maybe indeed someday she could walk. And this young girl said, I don't want to walk, I want to run. I want to run. And at age 9, she got rid of the brace. And at age 11, she got rid of the corrective shoe. And that was when she started ditching out of school 2 days or 3 days a week and sneaking into the track that was just down the road, and she would run all day. And after a year, when she was 12, she challenged every boy in her neighborhood to a race, and she beat most of them. She beat most of them. At the age of 15, she was discovered by Ed Temple, who was at Tennessee State University, and he had the Tiger Belts. And he coached her, and she went to the Olympics in 1956. This is a picture of her when she was little. And then she went to the Olympics in 1956, and she won 1 bronze medal. But she went back in 1960, and she won 3 gold medals. Here's a picture of Wilma Rudolph crossing the finish line. It was 110 degrees the day she ran the 100 meter and the day she ran the 200 meter and got those gold medals. And the third one was with the 400 meter relay with her fellow Americans. And here she is with the 3 gold medals. She had a dream. She wasn't afraid of failure. Failure wasn't in her vocabulary. Her version of Wayne Dyer's quote is this: winning is great, sure, but if you're really going to do something in life, the secret is learning how to lose. Nobody goes undefeated all the time. If you can pick up after a crushing defeat and go on to win again, you are going to be a champion someday. And what did she do? She used her self-determination. She used that self-determination, and whether she knew it or not, she was using the 3-step unity process that we talked about today. Make a list, visualize, take action, to define ourselves, to name ourselves, to speak for ourselves, and to create for ourselves. We have it in us. I don't care if you're 81. I don't care if you're 82 or 95 or 16 or 12. Make a list. Visualize what it will be like, what it'll feel like, what it'll smell like. Just everything about achieving what's on your list. And then take small action steps. Don't worry if it looks like a failure. That's somebody else's idea. Don't worry if it feels like a major defeat. Get up and do it again. Kujichakulia, 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 kujichakulia. I mean, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And we got it.